I still remember watching The Color Purple with an older relative who had grown up in a very different time. She stayed quiet through most of the film, but when it ended, she simply said, "People may think this is only a movie, but many women really lived that way." That comment stayed with me. It made the story feel less like fiction and more like a piece of history. So today, let's look back at the cast of The Color Purple, see how their lives changed after 1985, where they are in 2026, and remember the cast members who sadly passed away. 1. Whoopi Goldberg, Celie. 41 years after The Color Purple first reached theaters, its cast still represents one of the most remarkable ensembles of the 1980s. Some performers became global icons, others stepped away from Hollywood, and 4 members of this group are no longer with us. The film received 11 Academy Award nominations and remains one of Steven Spielberg's most discussed dramas. We begin with the woman at the center of the story. Whoopi Goldberg played Celie, the quiet young woman whose life is shaped by cruelty, separation, friendship, and finally self-respect. Born Karen Elaine Johnson in Manhattan on November 13, 1955, Goldberg was 30 when the film opened in December 1985. The part became her major screen breakthrough. Her restrained performance allowed Celie's fear, humor, intelligence, and growing confidence to emerge gradually, and it earned Goldberg an Academy Award nomination and a Golden Globe. The film arrived after Goldberg had already attracted attention with her one-woman stage work. Hollywood quickly recognized that she could move between drama and comedy without losing her distinctive voice. She followed The Color Purple with films including Jumpin' Jack Flash, Sister Act, and Ghost. Her performance as Oda Mae Brown in Ghost brought her the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Goldberg later joined the small group of entertainers who have won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. She also became a familiar television presence as moderator of The View, a position she has held since 2007. As of 2026, Whoopi Goldberg is 70 years old and remains active in television, film, producing, and writing. More than 4 decades after Celie introduced her to movie audiences, that performance remains one of the defining achievements of her career. She is alive, still working, and still closely connected to the legacy of The Color Purple. 2. Leonard Jackson, Pa. Leonard Jackson played Pa, the abusive father whose actions establish the danger and suffering that surround Celie's early life. Although the character appears briefly, his presence affects everything that follows. Jackson gave Pa a cold authority that made the opening chapters of the film deeply unsettling without turning the performance into exaggeration. Jackson was born on February 7, 1928, in Jacksonville, Florida. Before The Color Purple, he had already built a substantial career across stage, television, and film. Audiences may remember him from Car Wash, where he played the memorable character known as Hippo, as well as from television appearances and New York theater productions. His career developed through supporting roles, but he had the ability to make even limited screen time feel specific and lived in. He was 57 when The Color Purple was released in 1985. Playing Pa required him to embody the brutal social and family structure from which Celie eventually escapes. The role is difficult to watch, but it serves an essential dramatic purpose. It establishes the cycle of violence, secrecy, and control that the story later confronts. Jackson continued acting after the film. His later credits included The Brother from Another Planet, Mo Better Blues, and Conspiracy Theory. He also appeared in the horror sequel Basket Case 2 and remained connected to performance into the later years of his life. Sadly, Leonard Jackson died in Manhattan on December 22, 2013, at the age of 85. Publicly available biographical records confirm his death, but they do not consistently establish a specific medical cause, so claims that he died from Alzheimer's disease should be treated cautiously. He was survived by a body of work that stretched from theater to major studio films. Among the cast members covered in this video, Jackson is the first who has passed away. His role was small in length but enormous in its effect on Celie's story, and his performance remains part of the film's emotional foundation. 3. Oprah Winfrey, Sofia. Oprah Winfrey played Sofia, one of the strongest and most unforgettable characters in The Color Purple. Born on January 29, 1954, in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, Winfrey was 31 when the film opened. Sofia refuses to accept abuse quietly, and Winfrey gave the character physical power, sharp humor, and devastating vulnerability. The role was Winfrey's feature film debut. At the time, she was already building a reputation in television, but movie audiences had not yet seen what she could do as a dramatic actor. Her performance earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress and helped turn Sofia's Declaration of Independence into one of the film's defining moments. Soon afterward, The Oprah Winfrey Show became nationally syndicated and grew into one of the most influential daytime programs in television history. Winfrey expanded beyond hosting through Harpo Productions, acting, publishing, documentary work, philanthropy, and the creation of the Oprah Winfrey Network. She later appeared in films including Beloved, The Butler, and A Wrinkle in Time, while also producing projects connected to The Color Purple, including the 2023 musical film adaptation. As of 2026, Oprah Winfrey is 72 years old and remains active as a producer, interviewer, publisher, and media executive. In April 2026, Harpo Entertainment announced a multi-year agreement with Amazon that included expanded distribution of the Oprah podcast and several of her major media franchises. Winfrey is alive and continues to work. Although her career eventually reached far beyond acting, Sofia remains a crucial part of her story. The performance revealed dramatic ability at the exact moment her television career was preparing to transform her into an international public figure. 4. Adolph Caesar, Old Mr. Adolph Caesar portrayed Old Mr., Albert's father, and one of the clearest symbols of the cruelty passed from one generation to the next. Born in Harlem, New York, on December 5, 1933, Caesar was 52 when The Color Purple opened. His deep voice and controlled intensity made Old Mr. immediately threatening. Caesar had spent decades developing his craft before the film. He served in the United States Navy, studied drama at New York University, and became closely associated with the Negro Ensemble Company. His stage work gave him the vocal command and emotional precision that later defined his screen performances. His greatest recognition came through A Soldier's Story. Caesar first played Sergeant Waters in the stage production A Soldier's Play, earning theater honors, and then repeated the role in the 1984 film. That performance brought him Academy Award and Golden Globe nominations. By the time he appeared in The Color Purple, he seemed positioned for more prominent film work. Tragically, that opportunity ended almost immediately. On March 6, 1986, only a few months after The Color Purple reached theaters, Caesar suffered an apparent heart attack while working on the film Tough Guys in Los Angeles. He was taken to a hospital and died at the age of 52. Adolph Caesar is the second deceased cast member in this lineup. His career ended far too soon, but his work in A Soldier's Story and The Color Purple preserved the force of his talent. Old Mr. was not a large role, yet Caesar made the character impossible to ignore, strengthening the film's portrait of inherited power and abuse. 5. Danny Glover, Mr. Danny Glover played Albert, usually called Mr., the man who marries Celie and controls her life for many years. Born in San Francisco on July 22, 1946, Glover was 39 when The Color Purple opened. His performance avoided making Albert a simple villain. The cruelty is unmistakable, but Glover also revealed the insecurity, bitterness, and emotional damage behind the character's behavior. Before the film, Glover had worked on stage and appeared in movies including Escape from Alcatraz, Places in the Heart, and Silverado. The Color Purple helped establish him as a major dramatic actor. 2 years later, Lethal Weapon introduced him to a much larger audience as Detective Roger Murtaugh, beginning a successful action film partnership with Mel Gibson that continued through 4 movies. Glover never limited himself to blockbusters. He appeared in To Sleep with Anger, Predator 2, Angels in the Outfield, Dreamgirls, Sorry to Bother You, and The Last Black Man in San Francisco. He also produced socially engaged films and became widely known for his labor, civil rights, and humanitarian activism. In 2022, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences honored him with the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award. In July 2026, Glover publicly revealed that he had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease several years earlier. He and his family explained that he wanted to speak openly, retain control of his own story, and reduce stigma around the illness. He emphasized that life continues and that he still sees meaningful work ahead. As of July 29, 2026, Danny Glover is 80 years old. He is alive and supported by his family while living with a progressive condition. His portrayal of Mr. remains one of the most difficult and important performances in the film, while his later career showed a far broader range: action star, character actor, producer, activist, and humanitarian. 6. Carl Anderson, Reverend Samuel. Carl Anderson played Reverend Samuel, the missionary who raises Celie's children in Africa and helps preserve the possibility of family reunion. Born on February 27, 1945, in Lynchburg, Virginia, Anderson was 40 when The Color Purple opened. His role was supporting, but Samuel represented compassion, faith, education, and protection within a story filled with separation and violence. Long before the film, Anderson had become famous for playing Judas Iscariot in Jesus Christ Superstar. He performed the role on Broadway and in the 1973 film adaptation, where his commanding voice and emotional intensity made him one of the production's most celebrated performers. He returned to the part repeatedly over the years, while also building a recording career in jazz, soul, and contemporary music. Anderson appeared in television and stage productions, released several solo albums, and worked with artists including Gloria Loring. His career moved between acting and music, but audiences continued to associate him most strongly with Judas, a role he brought unusual sympathy and complexity. In 2003, while participating in another tour of Jesus Christ Superstar, Anderson was diagnosed with leukemia. His illness forced him to leave the production. He died in Los Angeles on February 23, 2004, 4 days before his 59th birthday. He was 58. Carl Anderson is the third deceased performer in this group. His appearance in The Color Purple was brief compared with his stage and music career, but Reverend Samuel carried an important part of the story's hope. Anderson's legacy remains rooted in his extraordinary singing voice, his landmark performance in Jesus Christ Superstar, and the dignity he brought to supporting roles such as Samuel. 7. Margaret Avery, Shug Avery. Margaret Avery played Shug Avery, the glamorous blues singer whose arrival changes Celie's understanding of love, beauty, independence, and self-worth. Avery was born on January 20, 1944, in Mangum, Oklahoma, and was 41 when The Color Purple opened. Shug could have been presented only as a seductive celebrity, but Avery gave her warmth, fatigue, humor, and emotional complexity. Before the film, Avery had worked steadily in theater, television, and movies. Her credits included Cool Breeze, Hell Up in Harlem, and television guest roles. The Color Purple brought the greatest recognition of her career. Her performance earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress, alongside co-star Oprah Winfrey. Avery continued acting after the film, although Hollywood did not immediately offer her the leading opportunities that many expected after the nomination. She appeared in The Return of Superfly, White Man's Burden, Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins, Meet the Browns, and Proud Mary. Television later gave her another substantial role as Helen Patterson in Being Mary Jane, allowing a new generation to discover her work. She also appeared in documentaries and public events connected to the history of Black cinema and supported the 2023 screen adaptation of The Color Purple. Her career demonstrates how an actor can remain productive even when one famous performance dominates public memory. As of 2026, Margaret Avery is 82 years old. She is alive, and her most recent listed film work includes The Nana Project. Shug Avery remains her signature role, but the performance is more than a nostalgic image. Avery created the character who helps Celie recognize that affection can exist without domination, and that a different life is possible. 8. John Patton Jr., Preacher. John Patton Jr. appeared as the preacher, a small role that helped establish the church community surrounding the film's characters. Born on February 18, 1930, in Garland, Arkansas, Patton was 55 when The Color Purple opened. His screen time was limited, but his background in music gave the performance an authenticity that suited the film's spiritual world. Patton was known primarily as a singer, vocal instructor, and performer, rather than as a conventional Hollywood actor. He became a notable tenor in the San Francisco Bay Area and made his Carnegie Hall debut in 1965. He also worked with the Hall Johnson Choir and contributed to the early history of the ensemble that became Sounds of Blackness. His acting credits were selective. In addition to The Color Purple, he appeared in Hill Street Blues. Much of his influence came through teaching, gospel, choral music, and community performance, rather than a long list of movie roles. Patton continued sharing his experience with younger singers and remained respected for his disciplined tenor voice. His career represents the many artists whose contributions to major films grew from years of work beyond Hollywood. Sadly, John Patton Jr. died in Richmond, California on April 18, 2005. He was 75 years old, and biographical records list a heart attack as the cause of death. He is the fourth deceased cast member covered here. Although the preacher was a minor character, Patton's life in music extended far beyond the screen and linked The Color Purple to a broader tradition of black vocal performance. 9. Laurence Fishburne, Swain. Laurence Fishburne appeared as Swain, one of the musicians connected to Harpo's juke joint. He was credited as Larry Fishburne, the professional name he used early in his career. Born on July 30, 1961, in Augusta, Georgia, he was 24 when The Color Purple opened, although he already had years of screen experience. Fishburne began acting as a child and joined Apocalypse Now while still a teenager. His appearance in The Color Purple came as he moved from young supporting parts toward more demanding adult roles. That transformation became clear in the 1990s. Fishburne won a Tony Award for 2 Trains Running and received an Academy Award nomination for playing Ike Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It. He later became internationally recognized as Morpheus in The Matrix, combining calm authority, intelligence, and physical presence. His credits also include Boys in the Hood, Othello, Hannibal, Blackish, and the John Wick films. He has earned multiple Emmy Awards and continued moving between film, television, theater, producing, and narration. As of July 2026, Laurence Fishburne is 64 years old and turns 65 on July 30th. He remains active, with current and upcoming work including The Witcher and additional film projects. He is alive and continues to expand a career that began decades before many viewers first noticed him. Swain was a modest role, but watching The Color Purple today offers a glimpse of a future major star before Morpheus, before his Oscar nomination, and before the commanding screen persona that later defined him. 10. Willard E. Pugh, Harpo. Willard E. Pugh played Harpo, Albert's son and Sofia's husband. Born on June 16, 1959, in Memphis, Tennessee, Pugh was 26 when The Color Purple opened. Harpo begins by repeating the controlling ideas he learned from his father, but the character also shows tenderness, confusion, and the capacity to change. Pugh had trained for the stage before taking the role, and the film gave him his most widely recognized screen performance. His chemistry with Oprah Winfrey helped make Harpo and Sofia's relationship painful and human. The juke joint built by Harpo also becomes one of the story's central gathering places, bringing music, romance, conflict, and community into the film. After The Color Purple, Pugh continued acting in film and television. His credits included RoboCop 2, The Guyver, CB4, Air Force One, and guest appearances on several series. He also worked outside the entertainment industry, including work as a probation officer, while remaining connected to acting and education. As of 2026, Willard E. Pugh is 67 years old. He is alive. Public information about his current private life or schedule is limited, so claims about his finances, health, or exact residence should not be presented as established facts. Harpo remains the role most closely associated with Pugh. His performance gave the film a man who is shaped by patriarchy but not permanently trapped by it, adding complexity to the story's portrayal of family and change. 11. Akosua Busia, Nettie. Akosua Busia played Nettie, Celie's younger sister and the person whose absence shapes much of Celie's emotional life. Born on December 30, 1966, in Accra, Ghana, Busia was 18 during much of the film's production and 19 shortly after its release. Nettie represents education, loyalty, and the hope that separation does not have to be permanent. Busia brought a direct personal connection to Africa that strengthened the character's later journey. The daughter of Ghanaian political figure and scholar Kofi Abrefa Busia, she grew up across several countries and began acting at a young age. Before The Color Purple, she had appeared in television and film, but Nettie became her best-known screen role. After the movie, Busia continued acting in projects including Crossroads, Low Blow, Rosewood, and Tears of the Sun. She also developed a substantial career as a writer. Her novel The Seasons of Biento Blackbird was published in 1997, and she co-wrote the screenplay for Beloved, the 1998 adaptation starring Oprah Winfrey. Busia later stepped back from frequent screen work while raising her daughter. She returned to the stage in the acclaimed production of Eclipsed, written by Danai Gurira, appearing with Lupita Nyong'o. The production moved from the Public Theater to Broadway and received significant critical recognition. As of 2026, Akosua Busia is 59 years old. She is alive and remains associated with acting, directing, writing, and cultural work across several countries and artistic communities in theater, literature, film, and education. Reliable public sources do not support confident claims about her exact residence, finances, or day-to-day schedule, so those details are best omitted. Nettie's importance goes far beyond screen time. Through her letters, Celie learns that her children survived and that a wider world exists beyond Mister's house. Busia gave Nettie warmth and determination, helping make the sisters' final reunion one of the film's most powerful emotional resolutions. 12. Rae Dawn Chong, Squeak. Rae Dawn Chong played Squeak, also known as Mary Agnes, the young woman who gradually demands to be recognized by her own name and ambitions. Born on February 28, 1961, in Edmonton, Alberta, Chong was 24 when The Color Purple opened. The character begins on the edge of Harpo and Sofia's story, but her growing confidence gives her a distinct path. Chong had already attracted attention before the film. Her performance in Quest for Fire earned a Genie Award, and in 1985 she also appeared opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando. Those projects established her as one of the decade's visible young actresses. After The Color Purple, Chong worked across film and television. Her credits included Soul Man, Beat Street, Tales from the Dark Side, The Movie, and numerous independent productions. She later moved into writing, directing, and producing. She is also known for helping Chris Pratt enter entertainment after meeting him while he worked at a restaurant in Hawaii and casting him in her directorial project Cursed Part 3. As of 2026, Rae Dawn Chong is 65 years old and remains professionally active. Her recent credits include 2026 film work, and she has continued giving interviews about her career. She is alive. Sensational online claims about addiction, arrests, or financial collapse should not be repeated without dependable sourcing. Her documented story is already substantial. An award-winning breakthrough, a prominent 1980s run, decades of independent work, and a continuing career behind and in front of the camera. Squeak remains memorable because she learns that she is more than the nickname others gave her. Chong captured that awakening with humor and resolve. 13. Dana Ivey, Miss Millie. Dana Ivey played Miss Millie, the mayor's wife whose behavior exposes the casual racism and social power surrounding Sofia. Born on August 12, 1941, in Atlanta, Georgia, Ivey was 44 when The Color Purple opened. Her role is uncomfortable by design. Miss Millie appears polite and helpless while exercising control over Sofia's freedom and labor. Ivey had already established herself as a formidable stage actor. In 1984 alone, she received 2 Tony Award nominations, one for Heartbreak House and another for Sunday in the Park with George. Her precise diction, comic timing, and ability to make authority figures both ridiculous and dangerous made her a natural choice for memorable supporting roles. After The Color Purple, Ivey appeared in films including Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, The Addams Family Values, Sleepless in Seattle, Sabrina, 2 Weeks' Notice, Rush Hour 3, The Help, and Ocean's 8. She also continued working extensively in theater and accumulated 5 Tony nominations across her career. As of July 2026, Dana Ivey is 84 years old and will turn 85 in August. She is alive. A March 2026 podcast interview showed that she remains publicly engaged with her acting history, contrary to unsupported claims that she had completely retired or disappeared from public life. Miss Millie was only one chapter in a long career, but Ivey made the character sharply recognizable. Her performance helped show how oppression can operate through everyday entitlement, not only through openly violent characters. 14. Desreta Jackson, young Celie. Desreta Jackson played young Celie, introducing the film's central character through some of its most painful scenes. Born on April 19, 1975, in Tortola in the British Virgin Islands, Jackson was a child when she joined the production. Her quiet performance established Celie's fear and endurance before Whoopi Goldberg continued the story as an adult. The role was Jackson's film breakthrough and remains the work for which she is best known. She later appeared in The Mighty Pawns and television productions, but she did not follow the conventional path of a full-time Hollywood child star. Her career instead expanded into business, media, directing, producing, and community work. Jackson founded Black Silk, a company connected to hair care and beauty. Her official biography also describes her as an author, director, producer, and creator of media projects. In recent years, she developed and hosted The Desreta Jackson Show, using interviews and discussion to address relationships, culture, personal growth, and empowerment. As of 2026, Desreta Jackson is 51 years old. She is alive and remains active in media and entrepreneurship. Public listings show episodes of her talk show released in 2026, demonstrating that her creative work continued far beyond the childhood performance audiences remember. Young Celie appears only near the beginning, but the role carries enormous emotional weight. Jackson had to establish the character's isolation before the larger story could unfold. More than 4 decades later, her performance still connects the opening trauma to Celie's eventual survival. Of the 14 cast members covered here, 4 have died: Leonard Jackson, Adolph Caesar, Carl Anderson, and John Patton Jr. The other 10 are alive as of July 2026. Which transformation surprised you most? Share your thoughts, and subscribe for more then and now stories from classic Hollywood.